what we try to do is to, in one program, in 1 hour and a half, to show very different films from, to permit to the people who came to only one program during the festival to see a bit of the worldwide production of the year. So that's what we try to do
Okay.
each time.
That's a lot of films, 4,000 films. You know, I spoke to, like in the Fascinating Film Festival in West Cork in Ireland, there was 10 of us, and we all viewed the 1,400 films that came in. And I happen to know that there's about the same number of people here in Edinburgh who will view 1,750 films. And if the other 5 guests, and by the way, we were meant to have more people here tonight to discuss what their festivals were doing, but COVID, believe it or not, has re-emerged. Not only on screen, but literally, you know, in our lives. So unfortunately, for the worst of reasons and for safety reasons, they're not with us. But if they were, we'd be talking about a grand total of about nearly 20,000 films viewed by people who run festivals because it's their job and because they love film. But for every one of those films, there's a maker of a film and a team of people. So maybe that's, I don't know, 40, 50,000 people who are trying to get here or to Brussels or to West Cork. And that's about it. They might get a first, they might get a mention, but they'll get that reject slip. And there was a film on last night which was very good. Do you remember, what was it called? I Dream of Her. Conversations with a Whale, where the rejection slip reached a new level. You know, in other words, like when you're shot down for what you do, what do you do? You know, you're God in some ways for an awful lot of people. And God was narrating tonight, by the way, so watch out.
Luckily, there is a lot of festival now, so there is a chance for, I think, everyone to make it.
We were watching films tonight. You obviously saw the ones that you brought in, but it's a unique experience, isn't it, to see 11 films tonight from 6 different sources. And in fairness, you know, to Paul Bruce, he's kind of put this idea together. It's a unique thing to do, isn't it? To say, this festival, the one you have, or the one in the Adriatic Film Festival, they're all run by different people and they all have different reasons for being there. Have you been around and seen that difference in other festivals? Like have you visited places where obviously there might be more documentaries, or there might be more drama, or there might be a different focus?
Yeah, sure. There is. Some festivals are very experimental. For example, some of them show only animation, documentary. In Brussels, we try to show all of them mainly fiction, but we program also a bit of documentary animation. So it really depends on the line that the festival chose. And there is a lot of way to do it.
Well, there's kind of a unique thing going on there, but I must say, tonight, one of the Belgian films, the one where the young lad was abducted, it kind of, I could hear you, and I could hear us, with the intake of breath, that suddenly something horrific was happening to a child, and because we all have parents, and because we all have some link with that child, I began to realize a good and a bad thing. One, that I'm happy that COVID is nearly over and that we're back together, because it's not like being at home watching a screen on your own. We're together in the same place, and that's what makes an audience, and that's what makes an experience, and that's why we're here, really, instead of being at home. But the dodgy side of that is that there's something happening to a child that we don't quite know, and everything that happens, from the camera work through to the child's performance, which was incredible. Do you know? I mean, it was a bit like stunning, really, when I think about it. And the time that it took to get that right. Do you, by any chance, know who the people are that made the film?
Yeah. Actually, is part of the selection team. Not yet, but for some years, so we know him a lot. And he actually also worked on the feature film. As a kid coach when there is some kids in movies. So he knows very well how to work with kids. I think that we can see it in in the film, and the kid is okay. He was he was here at the screening in Brussels when the film was over, so everything.
It's a bit, as I say, like a tasting menu. You're getting a little thing on a small plate or whatever it is. But the sorbet tonight, I thought, was the Duvet Mountain, which was actually, you know, kind of a light moment of taking, you know, a step back and saying, isn't it amazing the things we did when we were locked up, you know, to be in prison, and then to find that reflected in the program tonight. The other thing that I found really nice tonight, but I'm not sure how you felt about it, but it was the first film that we saw, which was called Dream, and it was about a boy, a horse, and a girl. And there was a kind of a sense of, like, poignant is the word that would come to me. Would you agree that there was a kind of a sadness about it, and yet it was a kind of an emerging thing for both the boy, and it was a dream. Was it a dream? You know, or was it, you know, was he really kind of, did he lose the horse? Did he get the girl? But we don't know. And it was kind of, it was the first of the films that was shown tonight. But it kind of stayed with me, and because I viewed it twice, I kind of felt it had some merit, you know. But then, what was your reaction to that? Did you like it?
Yeah. It was a good opening for the program.
Okay, do you know what? One of the things that you have to do when you're editing or having to choose what films go into festivals, it's the heartbreaker thing that I talked about earlier on, like rejection. I used to work in radio doing a program late at night where there was readings for people who wanted to go to sleep. And my favourite quote from people is, "I love your program, it puts me to sleep every night." But the fact is, it's a bit like the Book of Bedtime, but it's the Irish version, and it's called Conwana, or whatever. But to do that, I had to buy books, read them, and then cut them down into chunks of, say, 12 minutes. And just take that section out of the book, and then the next section. So that's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that's the run of the show for the week. But I always felt in telling you this, I always felt like it was kind of tampering with something that's already done. Do you feel that about filmmaking? That, you know, when somebody makes a film, that it's a statement from them, and you can't change it in any way?
Oh yeah, sure. And sometimes you don't really understand, and when we invite the directors to the festival when we program the films and we select it, and sometimes when we discuss at the end of the film, we understand more maybe than we see in the selection, and that's always interesting because there is a lot more that you can see at the first seeing, and I can understand what you feel.
The other thing that we saw last night, by the way, was a film on the Champs-Élysées. I'm not sure if all of you were here, or some of you were, I think, but it's about people, against the backdrop of the pandemic, it's about people who have broken lives. They're dispossessed. So we're getting the story of their lives, but not a plot. There's no plot in it. So very often we kind of say, I want to watch something that I can see happen. But sometimes we just see scenes. And that was a classic example of it last night, where the scenes involving several different people, including the lady who sat near L'Arc de Triomphe. And she was literally sitting there with her legs trembling and telling a little bit about her life. And then there was a guy going underground fishing out €1 coins and whatever else. But it was a sad thing.
Yeah.
Like it was social realism in some ways, like if you were writing something and it was of that genre, that would work. But on film, it's a beautiful thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah, and as everyone was locked up, it's a reality that we couldn't see and we couldn't figure. So this is a film that has a lot of success. He won some awards at a very big festival like Clermont-Ferrand, which is one of the big festivals in the world for short films. And he won the audience award, and I think it's not a surprise because people are really moved by this film because they are discovering something that they won't imagine at the moment, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it's also something that never occurred to us before, but it comes in a film. So if anybody has any questions, I don't want to hog it here, and nor do I want to go on too long, but if you have any questions for Fred in relation to what he's seen or what he's done, anybody? Gentleman over
Is
here?
there a pyramid system that you work to? For example, if it doesn't make the top short film festivals, does there film festivals a bit lower down that we be able to pass them down so everybody gets an opportunity to have the film seen?
If we don't select the film,
Yes.
yes, but the system is that all festivals have their own dates, and each filmmaker or company production decide what festival they want to submit the film,
Yeah.
And so there, if you submit to like 100 festival, you have all the year to wait for the answer. So yeah, there is always another way if you are rejected, but there is no connection between rejection in a festival and selection in another one. So it's disconnected. Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, to answer that question even more, people like send their film to multiple festivals. So in Ireland, it might go to the Galway Fleadh, which is the biggish festival. You might send it to Fastnet, and then they could possibly send it to here or to you or wherever it is. And a film made by a friend of mine, like recently, we think called Yates and Young, Phases of the Moon. But basically, he sent it to India and Russia, and it like kind of popped up in Rio de Janeiro because it was accepted there and not elsewhere. And then it was in Cork at the Cork Film Festival. So if it's decent or good enough, it'll pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
But there are some not well-made films out there.
Yes.
And you have to be generous, and you have to remember that, you can't put them in. Not every system is perfect, but at the same time, I believe, and Paul said this to me, that every film they get in is viewed twice. So at least, and if it's viewed twice, then it's bumped over a particular line. So every festival will have a different system of getting them in. But there's a small application involved. It's not huge. It's just that if you've made a good film and you've gone through all the phases of grading, and then all the phases that began with the script, the idea, who'll shoot it, what's the sound situation, how will you get it, past, the edit stage without having to spend too much money, but you go into the studio. So you're spending money all the time on it, no matter what the duration is, And some of the stuff that we've seen, just in the 2 days I've been here, is extraordinary in the sense that this is, craft. It's work. It's highly good, really, really good, well-honed stuff. So at the end of the day, if somebody says no, then it's a bummer. But at the same time, you are going to move on to somewhere else. And then there is the peer thing. And it's one of the things I love about this festival is that we have almost a collegiate feel about the people that help to run it and those that visit. So that we have a pint or we'll have a coffee or a jar or whatever it is, and we'll just have an old chat about what we're doing. And at the same time, kind of make friends or whatever it is that goes on. So it's a hell of a way to kind of spend your life making films. But at the same time, it will depend on you and Paul and the others to say you're in. So any other questions from anybody else here? Gentleman there?
Hi. Why could you do it like a 12-hour show where everybody's film is featured and not have it, go through the selection process? Because I'm saying this from a perspective of pure art.
Yeah.
Right? Someone's putting their work, their opinion, their skills, no matter, not like compared to each other. Yes, it might not be one of the top 5, 10 films we saw tonight, but it's still someone's opinion. Someone put the thought into that and everything. So, would you offer, a 12-hour open stream for everyone, even online or, at the festival where everybody's work has a chance, an equal chance?
I might answer that in the sense that what happened in Fastnet and the Fastnet Film Festival, it was actually a film festival without a cinema. So they used to screen it like in a hotel or whatever it is. We'd have the screen like this. But then they had a kind of a system whereby people could view films in pubs or in like the upstairs part of a cafe or whatever it is. So we were able to, for the bulk of the films that came in, we were able to show them once or perhaps twice. But if you put every film in and screen them, perhaps the only people watching would be that person and his family. It just depends on when you're screening something, who's going to watch this. And in some ways, the success of the festival was based on making it tougher, which is a bit ironic, but at the same time, it is about excellence, you know what I mean? We have to draw a line somewhere. So that wouldn't work, I think. There's far fewer films shown here, believe it or not. That's the one that I was attached to, because we had screened in 3 different places at the same time. Whereas it was either here in Summer Hall or else the other venue, which is not available this time. That was kind of decided, basically, you limit it to that. Okay, well look, it's been my pleasure to talk with you tonight, Fred. Thank you so much for being here for us and for bringing your selection with you. And to Paul, Bruce and the rest of the team, by the way, this is a